They say success is the best revenge, but no one talks about what it takes to become that revenge. In a world full of noise, Aarav was invisible, not because he didn't exist, but because no one looked long enough to notice him. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't confident. He was just another face in the crowd. But even the quietest people carry the loudest emotions. And Aarav loved deeply, not loudly, not dramatically, but silently, completely. Her name was Ria. To the world, she was just another girl. But to Aarav, she was everything. She was the reason he believed life had meaning. The reason he kept going, even when everything felt empty. He built dreams around her smile, a future where they stood together against the world. But life doesn't follow dreams. Years later, everything changed. A luxury hotel, bright lights, powerful people, and in the middle of it all, Aarav. But this time, he wasn't invisible. He stood out. Sharp suit, calm presence, eyes that had seen pain, and a silence that carried power. People didn't ignore him anymore. They watched him. They respected him. But no one in that room knew the truth. They didn't know who he used to be, and they definitely didn't know who was about to walk into that room. The doors opened, and she walked in. Ria. Time didn't stop, but something shifted. She looked different, less confident, more real. Life had changed her. She walked past people, unaware of the man standing just a few steps away. Aarav saw her, but his expression didn't change. No shock, no anger, no pain, just stillness. For a moment, the past tried to return. Memories, laughter, dreams that never became real. But Aarav didn't move. He just watched. Ria's eyes scanned the room until they stopped. On him, something felt familiar, but she couldn't understand why. Not yet. She looked again, trying to figure it out. But before she could think further, someone called his name. Aarav. And in that moment, everything changed. Her expression shifted. Confusion turned into shock. Because now, she remembered. The same boy she once ignored, the same boy she once humiliated, was now standing in front of her as someone she couldn't even reach. Her breath slowed. Her confidence cracked. But Aarav felt nothing. There was a time when everything felt simple. Before the silence, before the distance, before everything changed. Aarav wasn't powerful. He wasn't successful. But he was happy. Because of her, Ria's smile was enough to light up his entire world. Every small moment felt important. A simple conversation, a passing glance, even silence felt meaningful. He never asked for much. He never expected anything in return. Just her presence was enough. He believed in something real, something pure. Love, not the loud kind, not the kind that needs attention, but the quiet kind that stays, even when unnoticed. He never confessed in a grand way. He never tried to force his place in her life. He just stayed close, hoping one day she would see him the way he saw her. But to her, he was just someone in the background, someone easy to ignore, someone easy to forget. And slowly, that distance grew. But Aarav didn't see it, because when you truly love someone, you don't see their indifference. You only see hope, and that hope became his weakness. Then came the day that changed everything. It wasn't special. It wasn't planned, but became the moment he would never forget. A crowded place, voices everywhere, people laughing, living their own lives. And in the middle of it all, Aarav, for the first time, he stepped forward, not as someone hiding, not as someone invisible, but as someone who felt. His heart was racing. His voice wasn't perfect, but it was real. He spoke, honestly, no drama, no performance, just truth. For a moment, everything felt still, as if the world paused to listen. And then, she laughed, not softly, not kindly, but openly, like it meant nothing. And just like that, the silence shattered. The people around them started reacting. Some laughed, some whispered, some just watched. But no one stopped it. No one stepped in. And Aarav stood there, frozen, not because of rejection, but because of how easily he was dismissed. In that moment, he understood something. He was never enough. Not for her, not for this world, and something inside him broke, not loudly, not visibly, but deeply. That night, he walked alone, no destination, no direction, just empty streets and a heavier silence. The world felt distant, like it had moved on without him. But inside that silence, something shifted, a thought, a decision, a quiet promise to himself that this will be the last time he ever felt this small. Pain can destroy you, or it can rebuild you. Aarav chose to rebuild. He didn't announce it. He didn't explain it. He just disappeared. From people, from noise, from everything that once defined him. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, time stopped feeling normal. While the world moved forward, he stayed focused. While others slept, he stayed awake. While others celebrated, he kept working, not for attention, not for validation, but for change. Failure came, again and again, but this time, he didn't break. He didn't stop. He adjusted. He learned. He evolved. Every mistake became a lesson. Every setback became fuel. His body grew stronger. His mind became sharper. His emotions controlled. He stopped chasing people. He stopped needing approval. He stopped waiting to be seen. Instead, he built something undeniable, something real, something powerful. And slowly, everything changed. The silence that once made him invisible became his strength. The pain that once broke him became his foundation. And the boy who once stood alone became a man no one could ignore. He didn't need to prove anything anymore, because his existence spoke for itself. Back in the present, the room felt different. Not louder, not brighter, but heavier, because now everyone could feel it. Aarav didn't try to stand out. He didn't need to. His presence alone demanded attention. Every step he took was calm, measured, controlled. People moved around him, but their eyes followed him, not out of curiosity, but respect. The kind of respect that isn't given, it's earned. Ria stood still, watching him, trying to understand how the same person could feel so different. She remembered the past, the boy who stood quietly, the boy who once looked at her like she was his entire world. But this man was not that boy. There was no softness in his eyes, no hesitation, no need, only clarity, only control. She took a step forward, then another, each step heavier than the last, as if the distance between them was no longer physical, but something deeper, something she couldn't cross. She finally stood in front of him, close enough to speak, close enough to feel the silence between them. She tried to smile, tried to act normal, as if nothing had happened, as if time hadn't changed everything. But something inside her was unsettled, because for the first time, she wasn't in control, and Aarav wasn't reacting. He wasn't avoiding her. He wasn't confronting her. He was simply unaffected, and that was something she had never seen before. She finally spoke, softly, carefully, as if choosing every word. Aarav, it's been a long time. Her voice carried hesitation, not confidence, not control, something unfamiliar. Aarav looked at her, just for a moment. No reaction, no emotion, just awareness. She tried again, trying to fill the silence, try to bring back something from the past. You've changed. A lot. Still nothing. No smile. No response. Just calm stillness. And that silence started to break her, because she expected something. Recognition. Emotion. Anything. But she got nothing. And that nothing was louder than words. She let out a small breath, trying to regain herself, trying to stand the way she used to. Strong. Unshaken. But it wasn't the same, because the person in front of her was no longer the one she remembered. Aarav finally spoke, not loudly, not aggressively, but clearly, calmly. You're right. I changed. A pause. Short. Controlled. Because I had to. His voice wasn't emotional. It wasn't angry. It was certain. He looked at her, not with pain, not with love, but with understanding. Not everything stays the same. Some things are meant to end, and some people are meant to grow, even if it means leaving everything behind. Each word landed slowly. He wasn't attacking her, but he wasn't protecting her either. He was simply telling the truth, and that truth was enough. Riyad didn't respond. Because for the first time, she didn't know what to say. Not because she didn't have words, but because none of them mattered anymore. And in that moment, she realized something. She didn't lose him that day. She lost him. Over time. And now, he was completely gone. The silence between them felt heavier than anything said before. Ria stood there, still, trying to hold herself together. But something inside her was already breaking. Not because he insulted her, not because he blamed her, but because he didn't need to. Aarav looked at her one last time, not with anger, not with regret, just acceptance, as if everything that needed to be felt was already over. No questions, no explanations, no unfinished emotions, just closure. And that hurt more than anything else, because she realized she no longer had any place in his world, not as someone important, not even as a memory worth holding on to, just someone who existed in a past he had already moved on from. Aarav stepped back, calm, composed, unshaken. He didn't wait. He didn't hesitate. He turned and walked away. No dramatic exit, no final words, just quiet certainty. And somehow, that silence said everything. People around him watched, moved aside, not because they were told to, but because they felt it. That presence, that power, that finality. Behind him, Ria stood alone, in a room full of people, yet completely disconnected, just like he once was. But now, there was no one to look at her the way he once did, no one to stay the way he once stayed. And for the first time, she understood. What she lost was never small, and what she lost was never coming back. Aarav kept walking, not faster, not slower, just forward, because he wasn't running from the past anymore. He had already outgrown it, and that was the real revenge. And just like that, it was over. No revenge scene, no dramatic ending, no words left unsaid, because the truth is, real revenge doesn't speak. It doesn't shout. It doesn't try to prove anything. It simply becomes unreachable. Aarav didn't win because he destroyed someone. He won because he rebuilt himself. Stronger, sharper, untouchable. The boy who once stood in the crowd, invisible, forgotten, was now someone the world couldn't ignore. And the girl who once had everything stood there with nothing she could take back. Because some moments don't just pass. They define everything that comes after. And some people don't come back into your life to stay. They come back to show you how much you've changed. Aarav never looked back because he didn't need to. His past no longer had power over him. And that is what made him unstoppable. And just like that, it was over. No final argument. No revenge scene. No words left behind. Just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't need explanation. Because real revenge doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It doesn't try to prove anything. It simply becomes unreachable. Aarav didn't win by breaking someone else. He didn't need to, because true victory was never about destroying her. It was about rebuilding himself. Stronger, calmer, unrecognizable from who he used to be. The boy who once stood in the background, hoping to be seen, hoping to be enough, was gone. In his place stood someone different, someone who didn't need validation, someone who didn't wait to be chosen. He chose himself, and that changed everything. The same world that once ignored him now couldn't ignore him anymore. Not because he demanded attention, but because his presence spoke for itself, and the past no longer had power over him. He kept walking, not fast, not slow, just forward, without looking back, because there was nothing left behind worth returning to. And in that moment, without anger, without a single word, he proved something greater. That growth is louder than revenge. And that was the real revenge.